Hey, Angela, you there?
I am here.
Good. We can hear, we can hear. We'll just give everybody a few more minutes to log on. There's Dr. Mark. I'll ask Dr. Mark to unmute. You can hear us, Dr.
Howdy. Good morning.
How are you?
Living a dream, buddy.
Boy, that's what I love to see. Love your backdrop.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share something with everybody today.
Wow, we are absolutely pumped about this call this week. It was such a great success on the first one, Doc, and just the views on the recording are crazy. So we're really excited to host the second call here, second and last before the new year, because Christmas is approaching like crazy quick. So,
right.
Did you get hit with snow yet out in Colorado?
We did, but it melted, and there's just a little bit left out there. Up in the high country, they got plenty of snow, so we'll be doing some skiing here over the holidays, which will be fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, yeah, we got a little dusting here that's just spattered here and there with a little bit left after it got a little bit warm after. I mean, it's hard to believe that really just over a week ago I played golf here in Ontario in late November, which is unheard of, but it was actually kind of a nice day. So I'm really excited for this call. It's our second Ask the Doc call, and I'm just thrilled to be here with my co-host, Angela Corns. And I'm going to introduce Angela Corns, and she's going to do the introduction for you, Doc, and we'll get rolling because I know we got lots of questions, so we don't want to waste any time. But Angela, as you know, has been to your place before and knows you quite well, and has been with Vox Life since the beginning, within a half a year or so. So almost coming on 4 years now, Angela, I believe. But has developed her team. Has really invested in one of our pillars of Ikigai, of self-improvement, and which is so important for all of us to continue to improve. And one of the things that I've always said is the only room in my house is the room for improvement. And so these calls are great because we learn. Angela is just turned into an incredible leader. I knew it was always in her, and it started way back when at a contest at my fishing lodge up there. So I'm just thrilled to have her as co-host on this call. And so I welcome Angela, and I'm going to let Angela do the introduction for Dr. Mark today. So take it away, Angela. Glad to have you here.
So excited to see everybody today. We have a ton of questions for the fabulous Dr. Mark, and I have been so fortunate to spend some one-on-one time with him and his family when I was out in Colorado. Beautiful family. His wife, Christy, is an amazing, healthy cook, just amazing. And so spending time in that room and out on his balcony in the snow and doing little videos. And if you haven't seen the videos that Vox Life did from Dr. Mark's house, they're very informative, but a little funny because I'm like, it's April and it's snowing and we're sitting out on the deck. But the backdrop is beautiful at your house. And I'm so happy that you're doing this for the field. It's so exciting. And with that, Dr. Mark, we have a bunch of questions to get through today. So we're going to roll right into this. Hopefully it's just 2 after the hour. Hopefully everybody is hopping on because we have quite the list for you today.
With that, let me just say that in the last hour, I just presented a new presentation that I just completed actually this last weekend on a 3-year long-term study use of HPT. And so if we have time for me to share that, that would be like a 15 or 20-minute window. So we can always do that after the first of the year. But it is pretty awesome and exciting to finally have that completed. I've been working on that for a long time. We basically followed about 24 people for the last 3 years and did several maps, and the presentations all showing baseline maps without tech and how the brain improves over time just because they're wearing the tech every day. And so there was 3 maps per person in the study, minimum of 8 months in interim in between each map in order to maintain the study. and no other type of therapies, like no neurofeedback training or anything that would skew results with that. So that's it. I just wanted to share.
That was actually somebody asked. They
I
said,
saw
Dr. Mark.
that in the questions, and I'm like, oh, well, I already did that. And
So
so if
yeah,
we got
so that's fantastic. So we will definitely make time for that as long as your schedule allows for that today, Dr. Mark.
okay.
So let's just dive right into the questions here. We're going to I kind of situated them in order to kind of build on each other. The first one is, please explain why the Harmony patch has to go on the forearm and then can be placed anywhere. How does the body understand this?
Okay. So we have different dermatomes connected to different parts of our spine, which then connect to our brain. So you have like a patch on the outside of your arm here is C5, down to your thumb and first finger is C6, C7 is your middle finger, T1 is your ring and pinky finger. The inside of that forearm is a dermatome that directly ties back to the brainstem. Okay, and so neurologically, it's the fastest way to talk to the brainstem is to put it on an area that's directly connected to the skin, to the surface, and to the muscles, and to everything right in that region. And so we put the tech in the appropriate place on your body for, and I'm talking about the patch. The socks are not designed to wear anywhere else on your body except your feet. We put that patch on the inside of the forearm so that our brainstem can decode it and then filter it and then encode it back into the nervous system. So if, let's just say you closed your eyes and I asked you to tell me what I'm drawing on your arm, and I took my finger and I drew the letter 3 or the number 3 on your arm, and you says, okay, that was a 3. Even though you didn't see it, you could perceive it because I touched you a certain way, and you said that's a 3. And I says, okay, well, it could have been an M or a W, but you saw it or perceived it as a 3. So let's call it a 3. Now I go on your back and I do the design again. You're like, oh, that's the 3 again. And then I go over on your leg and I draw a 3. You're like, oh, there it is again. That's the 3. So once you've identified what it is and can filter it and then understand it, you can put that patch anywhere on your body. And the patch is designed to be decoded pretty simply by your nervous system. Now, the code on the insole or the sock, it's not designed to be interpreted, on other places, because you don't have the fine-tuned perception everywhere on your body. Okay, and so those are designed to be worn on the ball of the feet where it's most effective tech. Now, with that being said, I believe if you're ever in question, it's always better to put it back on the forearm again. That probably will always elicit the best response when in doubt, but I wear it all over my body. As far as the Neurovax and the REM patch, I always put those on the back of my arm or, below my rib on the right spot, just to always make sure I'm in the hot zone where the communication is easy and effective and interpreted as quickly as possible.
Okay, so then along that line is, how long until you, quote, need to reactivate this on your arm if you wear it in other places?
I don't believe you ever have to reactivate it. Once you're wearing it, your body's using it and it knows exactly what it is. Maybe if you didn't wear it for a year or something like that. I mean, you could not ride a bike for a year. You get on a bike, you ride it, right? Your nervous system remembers everything. Again, if I went for whatever reason several months, which will never happen, but if I ever went a long time without it, what's to hurt putting it back in the right place, so that I know it's working most effectively.
Perfect. Okay, so the next question is, why do some people feel an increased response when wearing multiple forms of HPT at the same time?
Well, I haven't necessarily found that to be true personally. With all my patients, I've mapped people and done a series of people where we had just the socks, then just the insole, then just the patch, then the patch and the socks, then the patch, socks, and insole. And in 90+% of the cases, no matter they had one or all three on, the map looked identical, 100% the same, no matter which tech it was and no matter how many combinations of them that you put on. It's not eliciting more of a response. Now, with that being said, if you have an injury in a part of your body that you're trying to send that message through, it may be more effective somewhere else on your body. Okay, and I used the example in the past where a patient had a botched shoulder surgery and all the muscles atrophied within just a few weeks. And so when I mapped her and then I put the patch on that same arm, because that was the hand she wrote with, and the map improved 32%. So I figured, okay, guess the shoulder really wasn't an issue in that message get into the brain, because the average was 34. So we were right on spot, you know, for getting the right number. Then we decided, hey, just for kicks, would you let me map you again? And let me take that patch off and put a different one on your other arm. And she allowed me to, and that one was 64% better. So in that case, we didn't have to go through a damaged shoulder, and it had a way better effect on the whole body and the whole brain's neurology. So the other thing is, once you put that tech on, it's doing a search and scan of your entire neurology to find out areas that are compromised so it can go help you. So there is scenarios where people put it on and within 20 minutes start to feel more. And that can be confusing and can be unsettling and anxious because they don't really know what that feeling is. They maybe not have felt that before, and that can be scary or unknown. Okay, and so they may have put the second piece and the third piece of tech on, but the first piece would have done the same thing in 20 minutes if you just gave it enough time. So I don't think it was the excessive amounts of things, it was how long that tech was on and what it found. And so it's finding things and it's trying to help you return to normal. One person might put it on and all of a sudden their old knee injury starts hurting. It's like, that hasn't bothered me in years. How come my knee hurts? And then within a couple hours, it doesn't hurt anymore. But there was something that adapted in there around that injury that never healed right, that immediately identified, and it went to town trying to do some healing in there. And so they felt something. If something's been numb and all of a sudden it starts hurting, that's actually a great sign because things are coming back to life. It's not a scary thing like, oh my gosh, this is making me hurt, I better take it off, this isn't good. Okay, if you're not liking the sensation, you can take it off and it'll stop immediately. And then typically each day or a few times a day, put it back on and see how long you go before you feel that. And
Hey, before you go any further, because there is kind of a question that's gonna tie into exactly what you were just talking about.
Okay.
And so I want to get the question in here, and you can kind of maybe finish
Sure.
explaining what you were just talking about. So this is actually someone's client. They emailed me this question. Said, I had a sarcoma removed in 2018 on my leg, and the graft was done using muscle and skin. It is now healed quite well. I was gifted 3 HPT and 3 REM patches to try, and they each independently. So she tried one of the HPT and then waited 5 days and tried one of the REM patches. They each independently caused tightness and tenderness at the graft site. Why would the patches cause a reaction to the graft, and would it be safe to persist using?
So great question. I would suggest Neurovax is really going to be her option of what she'd want to start with.
Okay.
Neurovax is going to return the blood to homeostasis and allow her nervous system to reconnect the information from the graft that wasn't her skin. So like Jay mentioned this, and I'm going to talk a side note of this in relationship to like an organ transplant. It's going to be the same concept for a tissue transplant as it would be an organ transplant. Now, many of us know that when you have a transplant, a lot of times people have to take an immune suppressive drug because they don't want our immune system to identify that that's not mine and attack it and disconnect from it. And so most people would think that, oh, I wouldn't want to put the Neurovax on. That's helping my immunity identify and attack things that aren't supposed to be there. Just like that scenario, we probably would have to stop using that. But on the contrary, because the main reason why you reject a tissue or reject the organ is because you don't have that neural connection to it. They put the tissue there, but the neurological connection back to that tissue is compromised or not there yet. And then the white blood cells will attack the tissue. So in this scenario, it already has healed fine. It's been, for whatever reason, not giving that person any trouble. We put the tech on and immediately it recognizes that there's some deficits in there. So the tissue might be healed and functioning fine, but there's still scars in there. And there's still components of that tissue that haven't been fully integrated with your own neurology yet. And so that's what the tech would try to do. And if you can bear through a few days of whatever that tightness or that feeling is, it's going to finally overcome and break through and allow that tissue to be more elastic, to adapt better, to remodel itself, to heal as your tissue. Okay. And it's healing. I think the skin's just a 30-day window before it replaces itself. So at this point, it should be all your tissue now, because, even muscles, I think 3 months, 6 months for tendons and ligaments and things. So your body's already replacing it with new cells. And so there's just some scar there. There's some neurological disconnect that needs to be reintegrated. And so that's what the tech is going to try to do. I don't believe it's causing any harm whatsoever. There's not a contraindication. You can wear it, like we said, put the socks on or the insoles until you feel it, pull it off. After you do that, your threshold's going to get longer and longer before you notice it. And then eventually you just won't notice it anymore. And then you're going to know that you're kind of past that injury or past that tissue. So the other issue is whenever you have one side of a tissue that has less neurological connection, then its opposing muscles and tissues on the opposite side of the leg or the joint, you're going to eventually get an unstable joint because the one side's going to be working harder than the other because you don't have the full neurological integration. So it really is important to put this tech on and keep it on as quick as possible to get past that so it doesn't lead into future more chronic problems. I think if you had the neuro patch on for a few days first, I don't think you'd notice any of that tightness in there. And I think that it would help clean the blood up a little bit. So then when you do put the HPT back on, it's going to allow your neurology to function a little bit better at getting in there, turning that tissue around, remodeling that tissue, and finally healing the area, more robustly than it has been healed. So that same concept goes for any organ transplant. Get that Neurovax on before surgery, during surgery, after surgery, and they're going to receive that Wow. Okay, I'm not sure what that was, but
That was pretty loud.
We've got that fixed. Okay.
so yeah, keep that Neurovax on before, during, and after, and allow the healing to happen much quicker. Allow your body to catch up to the neurology quicker. That's inevitably what we're trying to accomplish.
Perfect. So now switching a little bit more back to the nerves, how do our products impact the vagus nerves?
So the vagus nerve connects the stomach and the diaphragm to your brain, particularly Brodmann area 24 and 25 in the brain. Okay, and so that's our central nervous system's connection and our immune response and neural reflexes in relationship to immunity. So if that area was an area that was majorly dysregulated with you, HPT would be going right there when it passes the brainstem, okay, right to that spot. However, the Neurovax is designed to go right to that spot, right, and not stop anywhere in between. So that's why I was saying that the Neurovax is probably going to be more important in that previous question because it's dealing with the blood-brain connection and the gut-brain connection, okay, and so allowing our nervous system to know what's going on out there, tag things, and deal with them quickly when it comes to our immunity. Okay, and so that would be a Neurovax patch directly to the vagus nerve, or the HPT indirectly, if it was a primary problem.
Perfect. So staying along the line of the nerves, this person has a client with cochlear implants and foot neuropathy. When she heard about changing neuroplasticity, she became afraid to try the socks. The client stated that nerves were cut for her implants and she's afraid they will reconnect, causing her to lose her hearing. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't have a personal experience with that, but I would have more faith in my own body's neurology to know that it's not going to do something harmful naturally. It's going to only try to improve and to heal. The implant is going to do its job. I don't know the specific technology of cochlear implants to know how it does what it's doing. But that's like saying, I don't want to learn anything else because if I learn something, my nervous system's going to work better. And so it's like, you're always learning something. So if that is an area of compromise and you're focused on learning things that require you to hear while you're learning it, you're going to have neuroplasticity happen. You can't stop neuroplasticity from happening if you're trying to learn something, and engage in an activity that requires you to use your neurology. The more you engage in that activity, the more you're using it, the more you're growing new tissue in those areas. And so anything you've done 10,000 hours or more, you're a professional in, because you've developed so much neurology in the skill set of those functions. So hearing, if you've lost the hearing and it didn't just come back naturally without your implant, most likely it's not going to just come back. And I don't know how, if it did start to come back, how that would interfere with your technology. Again, I don't know enough about that technology other than the fact that I don't believe your brain lays down tissue in a way that's going to harm you.
So for the purpose of this recording, we actually have somebody in the chat that just said they have 2 boys with cochlear implants and they wear the HPT with no issues. Michelle, can you maybe type and let us know how long they've been wearing the HPT? That would be amazing. Thank you for that. So the next one kind of goes towards the CBT sleeve, the eSmarter sleeve. This person says, I purchased a sleeve in March and noticed a very significant increase in my memory. Now I feel like my memory is slipping again. Do you need to replace the sleeve after a certain length of time? Or what would maybe cause that feeling in the memory?
Well, there could be other issues that you've been exposed to that cause some damage in the parts of your brain, like heavy metals or toxins, or chronic emotional stress could weigh heavy on it. But outside of, external things that have happened in your life this year that may have compromised that, you just need to take the sleeve, turn it inside out, look at the pattern. It's a silicone design, and if there's even one break anywhere in that pattern, it's no longer working. All right, so that's basically the true test to see, is the sleeve still working? Just study that silicone and see if it's broke. So the sleeves can last about 20 washes in the machine. I would never put it in the dryer though, because that's going to wear out that silicone faster with the heat. Just let it air dry. Or I just hand wash mine. But over time, depending on how tight it is on you too, that silicone might be stretched a little bit more and it might crack. So, some people last a couple of years. I've had one that didn't last a whole year. So it just depends on how well you're taking care of it and if it truly is still intact. But other than that, it's still working on the 10 different cognitive networks in your brain. Whether the memory thing is the main thing that it's working on or not, it's certainly helping.
Wonderful. Now on to something we haven't discussed yet, and that is our fabulous REM patch. So we've talked about how the REM patch, just like any of the rest of our products, clients and customers may need some adjustment period to get that ultimate experience with the REM patch. But this is specifically for people with insomnia and even more specific to people that feel like they dream a lot without the patch, but they just have an awful time trying to fall asleep. Will the REM patch help with this, or what do you suggest?
So I didn't quite understand the question. I understood
Will
where
the
you were
REM
going.
patch help them fall asleep?
Typically, yes. And certainly, that's just something they need to try. And certainly, there's no contraindications for it. It's targeting several different areas that are relating to the sleep cycles in your brain. So there's 5 different areas that it's targeting. One of them helps you turn off the back of the beta brain, which is the ruminating and just thinking of things over and over and over again. And the other is it helps coherence of your delta and your theta waves. So your delta waves is your deep sleep, and your theta waves is your REM sleep. Okay. And so if you're not able to comprehend those 2 brain waves easily while you're trying to shut down and remodel and heal, you're just not going to get there. So I did do a whole 45-minute presentation just on the REM sleep. I would suggest watching that presentation where I go through and I show all the brain maps and the different parts of the brain we're targeting. So the 3 main things it's going to do is it's going to help regulate your light sleep, which is half of your night, which is your default mode network in the brain. And that it basically takes an inventory of both sides of the body, saying, what do we need healed, guys? And what inventory do we need? What nutrients do we need to replace which tissue? What you may or may not realize is 75% of all the new human cells you build in one 24-hour period are laid down in 2 hours of sleep in your deep and your REM sleep period. Okay. And that's roughly 2 to 4 hours a night max, is what people will get in that zone. So if you're not getting into those stages of sleep long enough to elicit a healing response, you're waking up exhausted, your body's degenerating, it's deteriorating, your nervous system's taking a major toll. So sleep absolutely is so important. And we do everything to help improve our sleep. Like, all the room is dark, only light is red light, if any, like a clock radio or something. No electronics, everything's on airplane mode if it's in the room. No electronics on. We keep the temperature of the room great, so all of these factors play a really important role on allowing your brain and your body to say, oh, this is the time I turn it off. Okay. And then follow. Okay. And so, the main things that REM patch is doing, it's turning off the busy brain, and then it's helping elicit a deep and a REM sleep cycle long enough to get more healing. People are seeing like almost a double in the hours and the time in their deep cycle, which is the body healing time. The REM sleep is your vivid dreaming, and that's your brain healing time. So if you're not dreaming, you're not getting into your REM sleep. And if you're not getting enough deep sleep, your body's just not repairing itself as quickly as it should. So to me, it's just a no-brainer. We put the patch on every single night, and I can sleep fine and get my 6-7 hours of sleep without it. But when I put it on, I track my sleep with my ring, and that's an Aura ring. And I'm able to look at my app and see exactly how many minutes of every stage of sleep I got. And every time I have that REM on, I still get the same amount of total sleep, but the deep sleep doubles, right? And that's what's most important. That's my body healing time. So, I'm regenerated. And then the other thing with the turning the beta brain down is so I'm not sitting there thinking, and I can fall asleep easy. But that also means when I get up to go to the bathroom and I come back to sleep, I can fall asleep easy. And that doesn't keep me up from 3 to 5 or something in the morning, where people have, a burst of cortisol and all of a sudden they can't turn their brain off again. And it's like, it's just, running like a hamster on a wheel inside there.
That's super. Dr. Mark, that's the questions that I have for you right now. I think we're all absolutely dying to see the study that you have for us. So if you have time for that, we would love for you to
Absolutely
share your screen if you need to and go through that with us. This is such a treat, especially since we have guests on. If you are a guest on here, we as associates have not seen all of the results and of this brand new study. So you are having a first look at this.
Great. And before I transition and jump right into that, one final thought on the REM patch is make sure you have the HPT on as well. It's just going to allow everything to work better. It's like, yes, you can sleep better if the sleep part is really important to you with just the REM patch. But if you have HPT on, you keep the front door open while you're sleeping, oh my goodness, the movers are going to come in and rearrange everything for you. You're going to get so much more body healing time if the HPT is on, keeping the gateway open so that your entire neurology can focus on healing. And so I wouldn't ever just do the REM patch, just saying. But some people, if you're skeptical, fine, do the REM patch. You'll see that you sleep better. But if you did them both, you're going to sleep, you're going to heal, you're just going to be a better person. Okay. And so after you see what I'm about to show you, I don't think anybody will ever argue with me again on why we need to use HPT as the foundation before we use any of the other technologies. It's just going to allow everything else to work better. So without further ado, let's go into this. Let me get, hold on one second. Where did my videos go? Here we are. Screen share, desktop one, play from start. All right, are we all on the same page still?
Absolutely.
You see Locke's Life Long-Term Study in my video, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
you can see it.
Awesome. All righty, guys. Well, this has been a long time coming. I have been so excited to finally be able to speak some of these truths. And so this is the first ever long-term usage study that we have done. So back in 2018, we took about 24 people, a little bit more, and these people all committed to wearing the tech every day. Okay, and so that was the main commitment, is if we're going to map you and follow you, we want you to make sure that you wear this every single day. Not everybody wore it every night, I will say, because people were still getting used to the idea of wearing socks at night. We didn't always have the patches. And so it wasn't a necessity to have to wear it at night, but definitely every day while you're awake, you're wearing it. And then also the interim time in between maps had to be a minimum of 8 months. So nothing shorter than 8 months. So some of these people, the study only lasted 2 years. Other people, it took 3 years to get the final maps in. Okay. So with that, the initial map was in 2018 for everybody. The second map, as I mentioned, 8 months later, that might have been the end of 18 or sometime in 2019. And then the final map was 2020. Okay, so we are truly seeing a good comparison. And also I'm going to let you know that all of these maps are baseline maps with no HPT technology on them. Okay, and so this is just raw coming in. And then you wear the tech for over 8 months. You come in raw again. Do I see an improvement? Does the tech only last that day as it's on you? Or does it have any type of long-term effect because I'm wearing it over time and it's helping my own body grow neuroplasticity in there, reprogram things and allow them to function the way that they're supposed to function? Gosh, I feel like Dr. Sean, like all the hair on my body standing up. I'm just so excited about the data, right? So with that, we have 3 maps. You're going to see 3 images on every screen moving forward. The left image is 2018. The right image is 2020. The middle image was somewhere in between, 8 months intervals in between everything, right? We're all on the same track. Okay, so here we go. This first one, I'm also going to describe the key of colors. We're not going to talk about the colors so much moving forward as you should understand it. So gray is healthy and normal. And then yellow means that the tissue in that area is firing 2 times too fast. And then red means 4 times too fast. So that's the worst. So the other side of that equation is the blues. Light blue means it's 2 times too slow, and dark blue means it's 4 times too slow. So your ability to shift that neurology, higher or lower, it's what keeps us healthy. Okay. And so when we see the image on the left here, that cortex is very busy. It's mostly yellow and kind of orangish. So I'd say 2 to 3 times faster than normal. Now, some people think, well, hey, isn't more better? Well, no, more is not necessarily better. Okay, that's bombarding those signals so fast that it's confusing it. Remember being in a crowded room and you're trying to talk to somebody and they're giving you important information, but there's so many people yelling around you, you're missing words and it becomes stressful. Okay, that's brain on fire. Okay, that's very active yellow and red brain. Now we see in the course of the first 8 months or so, maybe less orange and more yellowish. So all that tells me is their neurology was working on the deeper stuff first because it was far more important. But then you can see after the second year, hey, it caught up and it cleared it completely, which is awesome. And then we see another scenario, a little bit worse, more red, all red initially. Half the brain cleared up, and then by the end, 90% of it was clear. We see another example, mostly orange and red, half of it cleared up, the rest is yellow, and then just a little bit of yellow remnants on the top. And then for somebody that was pretty healthy to begin with, just a little bit of yellow in the back of the brain, it got a little bit more yellowish and then a little less and more gray, right? So the less color you see, the healthier their neurology is. So we're seeing a trend that the longer you wear it, the better your cortex. And remember, the cortex, the gray that you've been seeing in these images, this is your ability to think and do things. It's all your thoughts and it's all your motion and movement and everything that you tell your body to do. Now, those tissues are only processing about 2,000 bits of data per second, which sounds like a lot of data for me to be thinking about per second. But what we're about to peel away is the cortex and look inside the brain. And this is processing over 400 million bits of data per second. So far more weight. So with that, let's talk about information flow. Information flow is your ability just to send information from one part of your brain to the other. Do not stop at go. Do not collect $200. Just get it there straight away. Now, that ability, when it's blue, concerns us more because there's a lag time. It's just taking too long to get it there. When information flow is blue, usually it's a damage or it's an elderly person that is burned out, okay? But in this scenario, we can see the first year, Vox just woke that all up. We're gonna see a trend in all the images following. Your own neurology is always going to go for the dark blue first. It's always going to wake up the things that are most threatening you and most compromising your neurology and correct that first. It's easy to calm down reds and yellows. So you can always do that at any time. The blues, it's like time is ticking. You only have so much time before it stops firing and then it's too late, right? So we can see here the amount of lines that you're seeing. The fewer the lines, the healthier their neurology. So the goal would be to start seeing through the forest. So that is definitely get rid of the blue first, and then it thins the lines and makes it easier to see through. Here's another example, dense red and blue. And as a physician, that's just concerning to me because it's unpredictable behavior in their neurology. We can clearly see a lot of the red is gone and it's getting easier to see through. And then after the last map, 50% or 60% of the neurology is back online, which is wonderful. Here's somebody that's a little bit healthier, just yellows, no reds and dark blues in there. But again, we see the forest get thinner and thinner. The fewer the lines, the better functioning your neurology is. The next thing is coherence. So information just sends information from A to B. Coherence needs to share it through everybody in the network. So you have over 130 different specific regions of tissue in your brain that are called Brodmann areas. And groups of them get together to form a network because each one of those areas has a very specific function to do. And a lot of them need to share that function with a lot of different networks. And so coherence is when you're dumped on information. Do I comprehend it immediately? Can I turn around and teach it to somebody? Or is it confusing initially and I need to think about that to work it through in my brain to process it? Here we see some very poor coherence on the left. We see the dark blue lines going away and then many more lines disappearing. The back corner of left bottom corner of the image is the cerebellum. That's all motor function in the brain. We see that go from dark blue to light blue to disappearing, right? So all their ability to comprehend their body's position in time and space and movement got extremely better over time. Here we see another one, a lot more dark blue, front of the brain and the back of the brain. Halfway through, the front of the brain clears up considerably, a lot fewer lines and more light blue. Another year in, it's like that whole frontal half, it looks awesome. Okay, there's just a few lines left in there. So again, comprehension is improving. This is that initial comprehension. After the initial comprehension improves, then we look at something called lagged coherence. Lagged is your ability to focus on something over an extended period of time and have it become easier. It should. Anything you put your attention into should get easier the longer you're focusing on it. Some people, it just gets more confusing. So we see here a lot of dark blue turning to light blue in the back, and then eventually mostly clear. Somebody not as severe, again, 50% better, then another 50% or more better, down to just a few lines left in their lag coherence. Another example, front is all dark blue. Front clears up, the rest clears up. The longer you wear the tech, the more beautiful your neurology starts firing and functioning, and the more better your experience in your life is, because your neurology is more responsive, right? Now, executive functioning network. This is probably one of the most important networks you have, because it's your working memory, mental flexibility, self-control. This is the network of our civilization and socialization skills, to be able to interact with people and not lose my control and say the wrong thing, and be able to remember the things that I want to say when I want to say it. This network is developed when you're 3 to 5 years old. If you were played with and engaged with and loved on during that time, most likely those skills became easy in your life. But if you weren't during that time, it's a missing critical piece of your development. And so we can absolutely help this area, help it come back online, help it fire better, so that you can be in the moment and thrive and function the way that you need to function when you're around somebody else and you need to talk and engage with that person. We see some significant changes. The trend in almost everybody in the study, their cognitive function and that executive functioning network gets cleaner and cleaner. Remember, the fewer the lines, the healthier your neurology. The next one is the default mode. We mentioned this earlier when we were doing questions about sleep, but the default mode regulates light sleep. So that's half your night. It's regulating emotions and memories and helping you make sure everything's above board in your life. The things that you said are true and the things that you're doing are right. Okay, all of that happens in that default mode. It's also during the day, if there's a bunch of lines there, you're distracted. So this is a very good trend also that we're seeing common amongst everybody in the study, is that default mode gets nicer and cleaner and fewer lines, which means better functioning neurology. The limbic system, it's like the gear shifter in your car. It's the stress or anxiety or depression of your body, not your head and your brain and your thoughts. Okay, thoughts are one thing, how your body feels is limbic. And so think of being in a car that's a manual shift car. If I'm physically going 50 miles an hour, that gear shifter should be in around fifth gear, so there's the right amount of stress on the engine. If I drop it into second, I'm burning the engine out. That's anxiety. If I slow the car down to 20 miles an hour, I'm still in fifth gear, I stall the car, that's depression. So your internal ability to shift that arousal state, another fabulous trend that we're seeing through people. So when you see a bunch of lines here, it means one of two things. In the red scenario, that's overstimulated. So when something exciting happens, your body gets excited with it, and then I can't turn it off. And that excitement turns to anxiety and stress and tension, and now I'm overwound up, okay? And I can't let it go. Or something exciting happens and I don't get excited because I don't believe it's gonna happen, and I just can't bring myself to be let down again. And so I'm just not gonna let the engine move in that direction, okay? And so either way, it's that adapting of your arousal state to the appropriate arousal state of whatever's going on around you in your environment. So we see significant changes on people. And again, the red and the blue in the same, ooh, that's kind of scary. That's very unpredictable. To see such deep lines get thinner and then eventually become unremarkable is awesome. And these people feel the difference. They know that, oh my gosh, I don't stress out at all like I used to. And I feel much happier all the time. Working memory, how many times you running upstairs to remember, what was I coming up here for? Oh my gosh, I forgot, or saying you're going to do something and completely forgetting to do it, not even thinking about it. That's your working memory network. The longer you wear the tech, the better the networks that are the most concerned for you get. Right? So past the brainstem, I can't predict where it's going to go. There's a few here that we're showing you that seem to be a trend amongst everybody, but each person in that study also had some other networks that were way out of balance for them that got better. Because remember, opening with the front door, the neurology always goes to the part that you need the most, right? So working memory is one that seems to be a good common thing amongst everybody. And also the pain network. We know that this helps people with pain, compartmentalize it, turn it off, have a better pain threshold. And so we should see everybody getting fewer and fewer lines the longer they wear this, which means that they can control the pain better. They can compartmentalize it better. Then we look at our attention and our focus network, okay? And so a lot of people have ADD, ADHD, and inattention. If the left image shows a bunch of lines there, you have one of the three. And so we see over time, everybody's getting better. Now we know we can put an eSmarter sleeve on and turn this one around instantly in 20 minutes. To get it to stay, we have to wear the sleeve for maybe a few months. I don't know how long it would stay. We haven't done the study on the sleeves, but it's pretty cool to see that once we open the front door, a lot of people's biggest problem is their ability to pay attention and focus. And so that's where all that extra HPT goes. We see it here. We see it in another scenario, which this person had pretty advanced ADD, and they were able to beat it finally after their whole life of dealing with it. Same thing with this person as well too. So we see a lot of that, and that tends to be an easier network for you to get back online, because I think you want to be able to control it and idle it down at will and turn it on at will too when I need to. So that's that network. And then attention network ventral is your ability to shift your attention when an unexpected event happens. And are you okay with that? Can you roll with it? Or do you get upset and dwell on it? So we see a good common denominator here too, tendency where things get clearer and clearer. And so the biggest thing that I want to leave everybody with this presentation is that you're never going to find anything else that you can do that's this inexpensive and this simple as putting on a pair of socks that's going to help your entire brain come back online over time. This is an example of looking at over 200 networks at the same time, all overlapping each other. It's very rare that you could do any one thing in your life other than neurofeedback training to ever impact this image and to see the changes. And what we see with everybody is, like I mentioned before, your own neurology goes after the blue parts first and deals with them, and then it calms down the rest of the brain. So we see this back whole corner here is blue, and the other side is a lot of dark red. In the middle image, the blues and the reds are pretty much gone, and we can see through the trees, in essence, through the forest. And doing for you. Look at this next scenario. A person not quite as bad as the previous one, but again, we're seeing the lines clear out of the house, right? We're seeing the brain come back online in ways that are so phenomenal. Here's another one. The blue disappears first, and then the whole left half of the brain, and this, well, right half of the picture, but it's the person's left half of the brain, remarkably comes online. That is something that we just don't see ever. And to have something that can do that on literally every single person that puts this on and keeps it on their body, imagine the jump start each and every one of you have 5 years from now saying, oh yeah, I learned about that 5 years ago. Look at my brain now. There's no lines left. And look at my life now and how everything's just fitting into place, and how much happier I've been, and how I don't feel pain, and all these little things that we just take for granted. It's doing so much for you that you can't even comprehend what it's literally doing. You're only aware of the gray matter, which, remember, that's just 2,000 bits of data per second, and it's what you're consciously aware of. The chemistry in your body, 65 quadrillion chemical reactions every second. In the dark even. How awesome is that? And how wonderfully and fearfully are we made? And to find something that can tap into our neurology, reprogram it, tune it back in, and allow us to be more efficient in every aspect of our life and what we're doing. Oh my goodness, you can't put a price on that. Oh yeah, you can. Less than $2 a day. How about that for you? So all that considering, thank you for letting me share that quick little presentation. As I mentioned, I've been working on that for a while, following a lot of people, doing a lot of brain maps, just to prove what I already knew from the first brain map that I saw. If it can do that much change and hold that change as long as it's on my feet, that's neurofeedback, ladies and gentlemen. That's growing new tissue in your brain. And this is a very unique product because I've never seen anything else that can do it on a consistent basis over time, as long as it's touching our body. You will never adapt to it. You will never outperform it. It's always going to be your coach, your internal coach, that's always keeping you pushing the limits and going for the best experience of your neurology that you can possibly have on this planet. Thanks.
Dr. Mark, this is so exciting to see, because for me especially, remember, I was brain mapped the first time you and I were in Las Vegas 4 years ago. And, I'd just been wearing the tech not very long. And you saw some issues in the brain. And then, then I was re-brain mapped again. It was just over 9 months later at your house in Colorado. And I just remember you looking at my map and going, wow. And you had said to me at first, you must have had some concussion damage as an ex-hockey player and so on. I said, well, I think I did. But what I really noticed with the long-term effects and benefits of this product for me personally, based on my first map and then looking at my second map, and even knowing, even now after wearing it 4 years, was my ability to, maintain on course every day. And so my task orientation was always difficult for me, as I, remember over time. And with the technology and wearing the technology, it's amazing how keeping this body on course, keeping it on track and what I got to get done in a day, and the chores and the tasks that I have to do, that have just been improved greatly. And I remember, when you looked at my second map and going, I don't see any indication of concussion damage anymore. You've actually healed. And that for me was just mind-blowing when I first saw that. So to see this study now with these subjects that we can, most definitely prove the improvements through all these different functions of the brain, it's just so exciting. So, wow, thank you so much for sharing. What do you think, Ange? What do you think, everybody?
I mean, this is incredible. And I'm very thankful for you sharing this with us as associates, but also guests that are on here, because guests don't get to see this, and they don't get to see a complete study like this and really understand what we as associates get to see and what we know, but they get to see it and hear it firsthand from you, which is just, there's nothing like it. We can't explain it like you do. And so just for everybody having the opportunity to be able to see this is amazing. These results are incredible. And it gives us so much leverage to go out and share with people that want the specifics and the scientific and that kind of thing. We actually have the images to share with them now. So this is super cool.
Well, that's the nice thing.
We need to do a study with 20 plus people that do all 5 products every day.
I'm in.
And see how much faster we can get the whole brain back in line then, right? That's going to be awesome. Well, at least the 4, right? At least the Neurovax, HPT, and eSmarter. Right on.
Yeah, that will
Yeah,
be.
that's fantastic. There is one question. Were the other technologies, but it said, did any of the participants wear any other tech at any time during the study, or was it all HPT driven?
It was intended to be all HPT. So they were told not to, but whether they did or not, I don't know.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of hard when you hear about a new technology like the eSmarter and the other stuff coming out, not to want to experience it. If they did experience it, it would have been sporadically. You know, they were committed to HPT 24/7, and that's what really mattered. You know, for most of those people.
Well, the nice thing is, everyone that's on this call and knows that you know, we were streaming, or we're streaming live on our Facebook testimonials group. The nice thing is this call is not only just for associates to learn, but it's for guests, friends, prospects to understand how lucky we all are to have been able to come across this technology, and now to be able to leverage this call and leverage Dr. Mark's knowledge to people, friends that we have, where we can actually share this. So with that being said, this video will be up. I will have it converted into a YouTube video. It will be in the units tab. And our dear friend and associate and teammate, probably Nikki Cheatham, will break down a portion of this video in steps in our new unit, which I believe is unit 13, Angela, I believe.
Correct. Yes.
In the Team Vaccination page. And she will have segments of this broken down into the actual question. So you can see what the actual question is, and you can use segments of this training and information call to share with prospects that have questions, if you don't feel so inclined to share the knowledge yourself. So we have the backup of Dr. Mark's call here for sure. So what does everybody think of the call? Give me a thumbs up. Did you like this call? Was this a great call? How lucky are all of us to have been on this call when this study has been shared for the first time? That's incredible. So, you know how we've always said that the importance of showing up is very important. Come to class. And so we appreciate everybody being on the call. So again, this is our last call with Dr. Mark until the new year. So we will continue this call and pick it up in the new year. We'll just we'll establish a date based on Dr. Mark's schedule. So we're grateful, Dr. Mark.
Awesome.
Incredible.
Everybody have a happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. Enjoy your family.
Sounds great. We look forward to the new year. Thank you, Angela. Thank you to all our associates and friends that took the time out to listen. I will get this recording up ASAP. And if we don't see you all, one reminder tonight, we have our Real People, Real Results call tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the announcements tab on the Team Vaccination page. And again, that call is open for guests. We invite everybody, associates, friends, family, prospects, to get on here and hear people that have real results and real stories from real people that are very, very exciting to hear. So once again, everybody, thank you, Angela. Thank you, Dr. Mark. And thank you all associates for being on here. And we'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.
Thank you, Terry.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Angela.
Christmas.
That was
Thanks.
amazing. Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
Happy New Year, guys.